Okay, welcome to Strong Opinion Hibs podcast. I'm your host Calvin, and as usual, I'm joined by my co-host Charlie. And today we have the privilege of being joined by fellow Hibee and independent Hibs content creator and YouTuber MurrayMinter75 is joining us on the podcast. How are you doing, guys?
I'm not bad, mate. How are you?
Doing well, mate. Doing well. Delighted to have you on. Been watching your videos for quite a while on that now, so interested to talk to you.
Fantastic. Yeah. Thanks very much for having me.
Perfect. How are you this week, Charlie?
Not bad, mate. Obviously just disappointed with the weekend with Hibs, but I hopefully get back on the horse this weekend, like we said last week. But doing well, mate. Yourself, how are you?
That's good, mate. I've been absolutely fine. Just similar to what you were saying here about Hibs and stuff like that. That's 2 podcasts we've put out, mate, and 2 defeats. So we're hoping Murray's going to be our lucky charm to hopefully change that. Maybe pull it back to 2-1. We'll see.
We'll hope so.
So, let's. Murray, just got a few questions to ask you because I used to follow your Hibs videos when you first started putting them out. Those quite a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I think you've got a little bit of credit to take for all the Hibs content that's coming out there now. You know, potentially being the first one to do it. We were talking about the guys over at Hibs Talk. They're excellent with their podcast. You've got Long Bangers. You've got Down the Slope, and ourselves. So a lot of good Hibs content coming out. We know Darren, Phil Thompson does a good job as well with his content, all Hibs related. But I'll be honest with you, mate, I think you're the first one I've seen that was doing videos on YouTube and documenting your match day experience and that. So I think you've probably got a wee bit. You should get a wee bit of recognition for that, I think.
Didn't he say that too well, mate? You'll be giving me a big heat, man. Jeez, oh. No, I mean, to be honest, I had the idea to do the YouTube channel a couple of years ago. It was actually my wife that got me interested in it, you know, because everything you see with me in any video that I put out, you know, that is me. You know, I'm not fake in any way, shape or form. So, you know, there was times where I would go to a match, I'd come home and I'd sit and I'd speak to my wife about basically everything that happened. And obviously, I think she probably got to a point where she was just so tired about hearing me moaning. You know, why don't you go and see about going on, put it on YouTube and just see where you go from there? And, you know, the rest is history. You know, I mean, it's been a great ride, you know. I mean, I've really enjoyed. I mean, I always enjoy talking about Hibs, you know, because I've done that all my life, you know. And you know, to do that on like the podcasts and things like that, it's always been a good laugh. You know, again, doing the videos, and you know, I have to admit, when I first started out, I really didn't like putting my opinion on the internet because, you know, you come to a big game, like, you know, you play Rangers or you play Hearts, and obviously there's a big rivalry between us, and I seem to be just getting caned, like constantly getting caned by putting my opinion out there. And there was times where I thought, I'm not going to do this anymore because it's not actually worth it. And it was a good friend of mine who just basically said, listen, you're going to get that, just keep doing what you're doing. And I mean, I've stuck with it, and you know, here we are, And as I say, I mean, I really enjoy it because, again, I love being able to put my opinion out there. I love having banter with people. I love being able to talk about football. I love being able to talk about Hibs, and it's just, as I say, it's been some ride, and I hope it keeps going.
That's good, mate. You've had some really good interviews as well. You had one with Lewis Stevenson. How did that come about?
It was actually we Darren, mate. He put me
class.
Darren got in touch with me on Facebook. I don't know how long ago it was, and basically to say, listen, I'm doing an interview with Lewis Stevenson. Do you want to come along? I said, perfect. You know that. You know, brilliant. And it was a bad day. You know, it was a really good experience for me. It was good to be able to sit down with a legend of the club and just talk to him about the game that we love, and it was really nice, you know. Again, Lewis Stevenson is an absolute gem of a guy, you know, really humble guy, and just to be able to sit down and talk to him was absolutely brilliant. But it was something that I really enjoyed, definitely.
That's cracking. That's good you mentioned Darren putting you in contact as well. We're hoping to get Darren on the show next week. He seems dead keen, so it's good just being able to chat with other Hibs supporters as well. we're just, I'm sure a lot of the listeners will know you, but Charlie's going to rattle through a wee quick fire questions for you just to get some of your background on Hibs and some of your
Cool.
favourite players and whatnot. So hand over to you, Charlie.
Aye, so Stephen, what was the first Hibs game you went to?
Oh, now you're asking. If I had, I've been a Hibs season ticket holder since I was about 4. I think the first game I went to, I think it was it was Hibs and Aberdeen at Easter Road. I can definitely remember seeing a red kit, obviously along with the green and white. And I think it was Aberdeen. Didn't ask me to tell you the year because I'll just tell. I'm sure it was an Aberdeen game that was my first game at Easter Road.
Right. Aye, and next question is, who's been your favourite manager you've seen watching Hibs?
Favourite manager? God. Alex McLeish.
That's a good one.
I loved Alex McLeish. I loved what he brought to the club. Obviously, he brought in just quality players that we had under Alex McLeish was unbelievable, and the football he played was pleasing as well. Obviously, when you follow a team like Hibs, you want to see the team playing with a wee bit of swagger. We're that kind of club. We like playing football in the right way, and Alex McLeish had that to a T in my eyes. Didn't like him when I went to Rangers, mind you, but we'll not go there.
Aye, that's good. So I'm assuming you've seen a lot of good players over the time you've supported Hibs. So who would you say has been your favourite one watching Hibs?
Favourite player? See, I've got 2. I can only, to me, Frank Jose will always be top of any list connected with Hibs. The guy was oozed class. Obviously, from sort of more recent times, John McGinn as well has been was brilliant for Hibs. I loved watching John McGinn. I've got a couple of mates who are Rangers supporters, right, who turn around and say to me all the time, like when we were in the Championship with him, that John McGinn, he's shite, he's absolutely terrible, he's this, he's that, he's whatever. And I'd always say to them, he's going to play in the Premier League and he's going to be playing for your Chelsea's, your Man United's, everything like that. And to be fair, the two of them have completely went full 360 and went, no, by the way, you were right. But the guy is, I just think John McGinn is absolute quality.
Aye, he's my favourite of all time for sure. On the flip of that, who would you say is the worst player you've seen at Easter Road?
Oh,
there's a few up there though.
There's a few. Right. I'm going to say not for his cup final performance. This has to be important. Not for his cup final performance, but the worst player I've ever seen with Hibs was Kajabi. Right, and I'm saying this not for his cup final performance against Hearts. Right, I'm not saying that because he was shite in that game. But the game that I will always remember. Do you remember when we signed him and he came out in the papers and said, "I'm the Gambian Roberto Carlos"?
I remember that.
That. I got me excited.
Obviously, we're all this guy could be a player and things like that. And I can't remember who we played, but he lined up this free kick at Easter Road. It was 45 yards out. And he done the whole big Roberto Carlos, the long run up and everything like that. And he got to the ball and he fucking shanked it. He scuffed it and it went out for a throw. Do you remember that?
I remember
that.
He's the worst player I've ever seen for Hibs. Hands down.
He's up there for me as well, mate.
I definitely think you're right. I will, however, just say that wasn't a penalty in the final. I think he pulled his jersey outside the box.
I think so.
I'll defend him.
Let's be honest. If he didn't get a penalty away then and got sent off, he would have gave a penalty away anyway. He
might have been on the redemption tour and done a free kick. Maybe.
He was garbage.
Honestly, he was. No, I can't disagree with you there.
Second to last, quick fire one, Stephen. Who would be your 3 realistic signings in the summer for Hibs?
Oh,
obviously Messi and Ronaldo would be ideal, but I don't think it's realistic.
Right, Allan Campbell, for Motherwell, I think is realistic. Christ, you really put me on the spot here. Well, I'm saying this, it's maybe a pipe dream. I'd love to get Lee Griffiths back in, because I think his contract's over at Celtic in the summer, I think. So it would be nice to get him back in. And Ken, what I'd actually say, to be wholeheartedly honest, because I think we're going to lose Marciano, I'd get Macy in on a long-term deal.
Aye, I think that's fair.
Honestly, I think, because, I mean, he's had a couple of games for Hibs, and every game that he played, he looked confident, good shot stopper, controlled his area really well, and I'm actually surprised he's not had maybe a crack of the whip since Marciano's came back in, but
Aye.
if reports are to be believed, we're losing Marciano in the summer anyway, so I'd get him in on a longer-term deal.
I think they're free cracking shouts, mate. I think Griffiths might be realistic. I think he's not playing, so I think we could get him.
We were saying last week, I think he's what we're missing right now, just that sort of killer instinct, bit of a leader, someone who gets it as well, just gets the club and gets the culture and what it means and things like that. So I think he'd be great. Like,
and last one for you, Stephen. Jack Ross, stay or go?
Go.
That's fair. Well, I think we're gonna look.
I didn't even need to think about that. I'll be honest enough to say to you guys, right? I mean, I've had numerous arguments with. Well, not even so much arguments, but I've definitely had discussions with other Hibs supporters and things like that over the past couple of weeks. And I'm honest enough to say, I put a video on Jack Ross after the semi-final defeat against St Johnstone, because I really questioned the mentality of his players. I questioned the mentality of him in big matches. And I really questioned whether or not he was the right man to take Hibs forward. Now, don't get me wrong, after that, we went on that run, winning 4 or 5 games or wherever it was, and things looked a bit rosy again. Yeah. But as I talk about in loads of videos and things like that, the problem that I've got with him is he doesn't have a plan B. Yeah. Doesn't have a plan B. His tactics are really questionable. Selections sometimes are really questionable. And it just, to me, I don't know. I don't know where the glass ceiling is with Jack Ross, and I don't know if he'll ever hit that height, to be honest. But I mean, as I say to every other Hibby that'll listen to me, I hope I'm wrong. Yeah, because I really didn't like ladling Hibs managers, Hibs players. I didn't like doing it because it's not what a supporter does. But I mean, I'm open to being proved wrong.
Aye. I think you're right, mate. I think we need to get rid of him at the end of the season, but we'll probably go into a wee bit more of that later on. But
we definitely we'll go into a wee bit of that later on. But no, that was some good questions as well. Charlie, you done there. I think that was a good one with the 3 realistic signings as well, and I do think they're all realistic. So that was a nice wee topic. Just moving into the St Johnstone game, reviewing the St Johnstone game from the weekend there, Charlie predicted a 1-1 draw, and I sort of went with my heart and said 2-1 Hibs, and we were both wrong. So, as we said at the start, that's the second podcast and the second defeat we've had. So, how would you sum up that game in one word?
Shite. I'm not, in one word, shite. No other word that I can use, unfortunately.
Aye. And yourself, Charlie?
Embarrassing.
Aye, I'd have to go with frustrating, eh? So frustrating, man. And I agree with what you are saying as well. It's just, what's going wrong at the moment? Because I'll be honest with you, having a look at the Motherwell game, right? Now, a lot of Hibs fans were saying it was the wrong team, and we went after Jack Ross's tactics and his team selection because, for example, that game was crying out for Gogic after 10 minutes. So this week he's changed it. He's took off Murphy and he's put Gogic on. The fans were going after Doidge, saying Doidge isn't pulling his weight, 13 games without a goal, and quite rightly so. So he's putting this bit back in. He's also shuffled up the defence as well. He's brought young Josh Doig back in at left back instead of Stevenson, and he's took McGregor out and put Porteous in at centre back. So he's made the changes that the fans were crying out for. Why is it still not working? I
can take this one. We're so one-dimensional. And it's frustrating to watch, like on Saturday, we're playing the long ball. And Hearts play the long ball. We're not Hearts. We're a much better footballing team than Hearts are. And just watching us, it's like, do we even know who plays for Hibs? Like, none of them looked interested. Josh Doig gave the ball away for the goal. I think he should have just hoofed it. I know that contradicts everything I've just said about long ball, but when you're mucking about with the ball just at the edge of the box, what are you? We're not going to do anything with that. Mm-hmm. And I think we're just one-dimensional, and the commentators say that on Saturday, like, we've just not got a plan B. And if it's not going well, Jack Ross can't change it. The players can't change it. And like we said last week, Calvin, there's no leadership in that team, eh?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that really shone through this weekend. No, who's stepping up to the plate, and who's getting that game by the scruff of the neck when we go 1-0 down here, especially with what's on the line.
It's just frustrating.
What about yourself?
Sorry, mate. I went away and cut you off there. No, see, I agree completely. We were totally one-dimensional on Saturday there. I felt for young Josh Doig, because I felt that, you know, he's a young laddie. Mm-hmm. You know, he's a young lad. He's going to make mistakes in his career, but he's got to learn from them. So I hope that, obviously, going into the next game, he does have that wee bit in the back of his mind going, right, didn't he piss about now? It's just safety first, just get the ball in. And, I mean, he will make mistakes.
Oh, sure.
I agree 1,000% that there is no leaders on that part.
Yeah.
Now, despite, I will say this for him, despite the fact that he didn't have the best time at Hibs, Liam Craig was a standout on Saturday.
Calvin, you said it last week.
Honestly, he was an absolute standout, because he just, you know, there was nothing special about what he was doing. He'd done his job, got his goal, and he just saw
took it well.
You know what I mean? I took it really well. Well, hang on. No, I'm going to retract that. Did he, or did Rocky fuck up? Personally speaking, I think Rocky was going for the camera save.
I think so.
Did you? Oh, I've seen the replay, and I was just focusing on Craig and the way he sort of curled it, and I thought,
if you actually look at the way, Marciano shapes up, he thought, here we go, camera save it, another wee zero on my transfer fee here, brilliant, and it just didn't work. But my issue and my problem is with the leadership. You look doing it like, I've been really critical of the Hibs defenders recently, especially the older ones, i.e. PaulHanlon.
Yep.
I don't think PaulHanlon's club captain.
I agree.
He shouldn't be, in my opinion, shouldn't be club captain. Again, standout guy, really, really nice guy, but on a footballing sense, I didn't think he's got it anywhere, right? You look at somebody there like Lewis Stevenson. Again, I really like Lewis Stevenson as an individual. I think it's becoming more apparent now he's coming to the end of his time at Hibs, because I just think players, especially now the quicker players, are getting past them. Stevenson always had a wee bit of pace, which made it really hard for wingers to go up against him, because he could match him stride for stride. He's losing that yard of pace now, right? McGregor is another one, right? McGregor, again, I love Darren McGregor for the fact that he's a die-in-a-wheel Hibee. Yep. If we lose, he feels it. He's like us. Do you know what I mean? Whereas, again, he hasn't lost that yard of pace, but he's still got that wee bit, I want to say he's still got that wee bit of rawness about him at times that I think he's a wee bit rash, which for a guy who's 34, 35, he shouldn't have. No. Right, but I'm not saying he's any less good a player, because Darren McGregor had made the difference for us in the past couple of weeks. So I can't really say anything about him. But I mean, you look at further up the field as well. You've got people like Paul McGinn, an experienced pro, should be shouting at people to get the job done. Up the top of the pack, Doig is another one. He's an experienced pro. He should be getting ahead of people and saying, fucking get it together. It shouldn't just be doing one or two individuals. Ken, and I mean, I know we spoke about it there. I spoke about him there just now, John McGinn. John McGinn was a guy who we direly miss. Somebody who just gets his foot on the ball and gets us forward.
Yeah.
No passing about, no nothing. He done run.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, we've never managed to. I mean, how do you follow up somebody like John McGinn? We haven't done that.
No, we've not.
No, we haven't. There's certainly been an opportunity. I mean, one of the things I'll say is we did talk last week on the podcast about that lack of leadership, and I do think that's a massive contributing factor to the way we've played in the last couple games.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're talking about guys like PaulHanlon, let's hear your thoughts on this. We talked about last week, you know, we're at Tynecastle, we're made up scenario, we're at Tynecastle, we're 1-0 down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and if you're a player, are you going in there? Are you frightened to lock eyes with PaulHanlon in case PaulHanlon gives you a hard time?
Not at all.
I didn't think so. There's no fear there. There's no fear there.
Nope.
I mean, guys like just echoing what you said, guys like I think the reason McGregor might be a bit rash is because he is such a die-in-the-wheel Hibee. He feels it,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he wears his heart on his sleeve a bit too much.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely think the lack of leadership, and this was a point I wanted to bring up. I was thinking about it earlier in the week. You know, we're very fast to get rid of guys, Hibs, and I've been thinking about who are players in the past that have bought into the club. Haven't they been born Hibbies, but have bought into the club? And there's a few that jump out. Marvin
Mm-hmm.
Bartley, he got it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely superb. That picture of him on top of the bus with the cup, with all the fans behind him, and it said, "In football, you know, challenging my decision to come to Scotland." You could see how much he loved Hibs.
Mm-hmm.
He completely got it, and you know, the tail end of that season before he left, you know, we did bring him in to do the sort of hard man job where he wasn't the prettiest of footballers, where you had like Allan, McGee, McGinn, but when he was called upon, he was there, and he was an excellent figure, and we've lost that because I certainly would know what to be going in at Tynecastle 1-0 down and having to answer to Marvin Bartley.
No.
You know what I mean?
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Another one that comes to mind, and wasn't the most outstanding player, but I think he gets, you know, looked over quite a bit. Liam Fontaine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Liam Fontaine. He was writing songs about Hibs.
He just
making up his own songs.
He just understood what it meant to play good football, and I think that's my biggest frustration with Hanlon, is we've lost that killer instinct in the defence. Where if someone's in on goal, Hanlon's not going to sacrifice a red card to win the ball. Hanlon's going to try and shove them off the ball. We're just missing that leadership, and I'm just frustrated talking about PaulHanlon because I think it's time to cut ties with him. Like he's living on that. Him, Stevenson, McGregor, Gray, the four of them, get rid of them, in my opinion. Stevenson's won 2 cups, but they're living on that reputation of winning the Scottish Cup with the team. And I think we're past that as a club now. We need to get better footballers. And if we're going to want to finish third consistently now, we're going to need to get rid of the deadwood.
Yeah.
I do understand that, mate. I mean, even just to talk about Fontaine again, I mean, you could see him, that personality he had with the club, you know, doing the Fontaine and knowledge. And even when he signed for Ross County, he got, you know, 32 in the back of his top. Do you know what I mean? I feel that's really what's missing in this team. Your point on PaulHanlon there. Now, excellent defender when I was growing up watching Hibs was Chris Hogg. I thought Chris Hogg was massively underrated. Very consistent at what he'd done, and he didn't do anything wrong that often, but Hibs done him dirty.
Oh, massively.
They cut ties with him, you know, and I don't know why they feel they can't do the same with Hanlon. I'm not saying cut ties, because I think Hanlon's a great guy, and, you know, and he's a good player, but I just don't think he's not got that leadership quality. I mean, if you look at guys like Christoph Berra for Hearts, I mean, you can tell Berra he gets himself up for an Edinburgh derby. I'm just not sure, I just don't buy it, I just struggle with that, like what you're saying.
The problem for me as well is the fact that, you know, you've got guys, again, we'll take that back four for the Scottish Cup final, you know, Gray, McGregor, Hanlon and Stevenson. Now, they four there in one day cemented a legacy with the football club, the same as 100%. Everybody else who took part in that final. They cemented a legacy, right? for me now, it's almost like they're going out their way to dismantle that legacy. And I didn't want to see that happening. Do you know what I mean? Personally speaking, I really didn't want to see that happening because, you know, again, these guys, they are club legends for what they've done, right? But unfortunately, time moves on. Hibs have to move on. And especially now, if we are as ambitious as what I think we could be under Ron Gordon, we do have to sort of clear a deadwood out. We do have to sit there and say, well, if we want to grow and we want to expand and we want to be as big as what we can be, we can't, you know, we're no wanting passengers anymore.
No.
You know what I mean? It's not like that anymore. And unfortunately, like, I don't know what the future will hold with Hibs under Ron Gordon. Nobody does. But the guy, you have to say one thing, he said all the right things. He's doing all the right things. I think if it hadn't been for COVID, could we be in a better, you know, could the club have had a couple of other things happen that go their way? We don't know. All the plans that he said at the AGM, I know have been shelved because obviously because of COVID. But again, you know, this is really the first season under his leadership. Is it going to get better? You would like to hope. We would all like to hope so. And I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I didn't want to see these guys have their legacy completely dismantled at Hibs, because I think if that were to happen, we would have done them dirty by that point. And I didn't agree with I agree with what you said there, mate, about Chris Hogg. You know, Hibs done him a dirty, and I didn't want to see that happen to guys who really didn't deserve that. But at the same time, we want to.
We do need to be ruthless. We need to be ruthless because it's a business at the end of the day.
That's it.
If you're not pulling your weight at your job, you get sacked.
Yes, I agree totally. And it's just, it's hard. Like, it's a hard one, but at the same time, we have to. I agree completely. You know, you have to be ruthless, and you just have to say, you know, you've had your day. It's past now. I'm sorry, but we need to move you on. You know.
Being a nice guy only gets you so far, you know, with the likes of Hanlon, Stevenson, and things like that. And it's feel bad talking about them like that, but it's the way it goes. I want Hibs to be successful, and
completely.
That's the priority here, and I'm sure those boys will understand as well. And we can all agree that the lack of leadership's been, you know, quite evident last couple of weeks. Who is it in that team you think could step up at the moment?
If I had to take a real swing, and I'm going to swing for the fences here, I think actually somebody there like Scott Allan. I think again we talk about guys who just get the club. Scott Allan's one of the guys, and didn't get me wrong, I understand completely that unfortunately he's had a real big health scare. But now he's been deemed fit to play. He is fit. He's raring to go. Why are we not using him?
Certainly missing him.
I think he is one of these guys, because I think he's such a good player on the ball. And if I mean, how many times have we sat and watched Scott Allan play football, and it's just he sees a pass that nobody else sees. I mean, the one that sticks out in my mind, I'm not going to go into the result, but the one against Rangers at Ibrox, the wee reverse pass. Nobody else in the stadium saw that but him. And I think if he is consistently playing week in, week out, doing what he does and doing it well, I think everybody else round about him then goes, I want to be like him. He's a winner. I want to be a winner. I'm going to start doing what he does. I'm going to start playing like Scott Allan. I'm going to start, you know, do you know what I mean? I mean, sometimes I think that on a football field, you need to hear voices. You need to hear, even if it is a case of somebody saying, you, get your finger out, get this, you need to be hearing that. There's no point in being a team of shrinking violets. Do you know what I mean? And unfortunately,
100%.
that's what we became. I feel, and I mean, I think, as I say, somebody there like Scott Allan, he is vocal. He talked to his wife through. He can talk his wife through a game. He's got the skills there. He's got the passing. He's got the passing there. He's a quality player. To me, play him week in, week out. Everybody else buys into the product. But what do I know? I'm no Jack Ross.
I agree with you. So here's what we're going to move on to. An interesting thing we put on Twitter. We asked, who is to blame for the loss? We've done a Twitter poll. Is the defeat to St Johnstone a result of Jack Ross and his management, or is it down to the players and their personal performances? 61% of the voters said that it's Jack Ross to blame. Another 39 said it was the players. What's your opinion, guys?
I think, personally speaking, I think it's twofold. Do you know what I mean? I think these kind of things go hand in hand, and unfortunately, you know, you're always going to get somebody there that says it's the manager's. I'm one of the people. I think that the buck stops with the manager. There's no point in. I agree that players can go in and out of form during the course of a season, of course, you know, but I still think that the buck stops with a manager. And if you're setting a team up right to basically to do their job as easy as possible, then that's kind of what you should do. And unfortunately, like I didn't agree with Jack Ross here on Saturday, putting Christian Doidge on the bench and then playing long ball football.
Yeah.
Jason Kerr and his other defensive partner must have just been like, thanks very much, lads. This is the easiest 90 minutes I'm going to have. Because I mean, there was nobody there who was going to challenge him. I mean, theoretically, if you're going to have somebody there like Nesbitt and Boyle up front, you have to play the ball on the deck. To get these guys in behind the back line, you have to play the ball on the deck. There's no ifs or buts about it. You have to do that. So how many times this season have you actually sat and watched Hibs and we're doing that big diagonal backwards? And to me, it's just so unnecessary.
Yeah.
I would much rather Hibs play in an attacking move, play 4 or 5 extra passes, get the ball down on the deck, let players move round about you and see if you can find the pass. Yeah, enough, it might not always turn out, it might not always work out, but you're trying. But the thing for me, I understand the players are frustrated. Of course they are. They all say how frustrated they are. They all say how annoyed they are that they're not winning matches. Right, that's fine. But at the same time, you want your manager standing. To me, you want your manager raging on the sidelines. If it's not working, you look over and go, my manager cares.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, look at what Hibs were like under Neil Lennon. Right? Sometimes they weren't the most attacking team. They didn't play the most football, but they were always up for the fight. And that came from Neil Lennon. Right? How many times did you go into a derby under Stubbs and Lennon and think, we're not getting beat today? They're not going to be able to cope with us?
Every time.
Majority.
Honestly, every time we played Hearts under these two managers, I was very confident in either beating them or beating them convincingly. None of this, we'll get a draw or we'll hope to sneak a win. We were either beating them or we were humping them. And as soon as, obviously, Heckingbottom had a good win against them at Tynecastle, which we all thought this could be the catalyst here, you know, happy days. But then that fell on its arse. Jack Ross had a good win at Tynecastle, but he's fell on his arse on that. And the thing that annoys me is every time a camera pans over to him, he's either standing with his hands in his pockets or he's standing in his corner drink. John Potter's got his assistant is fucking gone Raj behind him. Why is he not doing that? Ken, what I mean? I just, as I say, for me, you want your manager to be raging as well, to say, well, he's not happy. So we have to be, if I'm a player and I'm seeing my manager raging, I can sit there and go, fuck, I need to step it up another 10%. Because if it goes tits up, when I go in that changing room, he's not coming for me.
Exactly. There's none of that now.
Do you know what I mean? I can then say, well, he's not. I'm doing my job. He's not doing his. So if you're going to moan at somebody, moan at him. Didn't moan at me.
Aye.
As you say, there's nobody there. There's nobody there from the top to the bottom that is doing that at Hibs just now, and it's something that really annoys me and it pisses me off in a lot of ways. Is this argument? Aye, but we're third. So
yeah, God knows how.
That's it.
God knows how.
That's it. And me and you, Colin, we spoke about last night when Derek McInnes left Aberdeen. Like, I think Aberdeen are going to finish third, to be brutally honest with you. Like, and I think going back to the Jack Ross or the players, I think it's 60-40 in terms of, I think Jack Ross is to blame, but the players like Paul McGinn was blaming the pitch. Like, come on, you're a professional football player. How
many AstroTurf pitches have they got doing at East Mange? Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean. I didn't buy that. I didn't understand that.
And it's, I think my biggest gripe with Saturday is the substitutions. Like, why is he bringing Melker Hallberg on when we're 1-0 down? Melker Hallberg cannot move the ball forward. He plays a diagonal ball or a ball behind him. Scott Allan would have got us a goal there, I think. And it's just irritating, isn't it?
It is. I completely agree with you. I mean, I don't really understand the whole Hallberg in general. No. I mean, it just reminds me so much of Slivka. It's just like, are they in the team? Are they a part of the team? Are they a good player? Are they a bad player? It's like, I don't know, eh? I don't get signings like that. He's never really had a run or a chance, eh? He's just...
To be fair, he looked all right when he scored against Celtic at Hampden back 2 years ago, but, like, I think that's his big thing, is he gets a run in the team and he does nothing with it, eh? Like, I think he's definitely one that we just get rid of him. Another Hecky.
I certainly think so,
like...
But I'm gonna. I mean, last couple of weeks I've been, you know, for the majority of the season, I'll be honest with you, I've not been a fan of Jack Ross. I've been just something about him. I'm not quite sure. I can't quite put my finger on it because he looks the part, Ken, and he talks the part after the games and things like that. But what I'm watching, it's no the Hibs of old, and the Hibs of old that I'm talking about was when it was, as you say, Lennon and Stubbs. I thought we'd got to a certain level where it was we'd broken the mentality of, oh, Hibs did. Ken, we'd broken that mentality of glorious failures where it was actually we'd won the cup. Ken, we almost done it back to back. I mean, we got to the semi against Aberdeen. We were 2-0 down. We came back to 2-2. That was a Hibs that Ken had the fight in them. It was great to be supporting them, and it was just so engaging to watch. And I don't feel like that with this Hibs team. I don't. They're so unpredictable. I don't know what I'm going to get for them. I mean, you know, you're playing St Johnstone, Ken. St Johnstone. I ken they've just won the cup and that, but Hibs should be beating St Johnstone in my opinion easily. How can you be challenging for third and not be beating teams like St Johnstone? That's the teams you should be guaranteed the 3 points. And no disrespect to St Johnstone, but Murray, you done a video a couple months ago, or maybe even a year ago, talking about redefining our idea of success or our sort of expectations. Yeah. I mean, is that something we really need to look at? Because as we said in the first podcast, mate, I think Hibs should be third every year, challenging for third and looking at cup finals, cup semi-finals. But the reality is we don't. And I don't know what it is.
Well, I mean, I done that video because, again, you know, at the time it seemed to be everybody was talking about how much we should be doing, how much we should be challenging, how much we should be doing this, how much we should be doing that. And at that time, we didn't have the players there to back these claims up. Now, I agree completely. When we had Stubbs and Lennon in charge, it was like, we've now broke that mentality. And I completely agree with you that, you know, Hibs could go 2-0 down in a match. But you had that, they could still come back though. And we proved that numerous times under both these managers. And as I say, for whatever reason, they left and that mentality seemed to go with them.
Yeah.
The problem I've got with, and it is a problem in a lot of ways, is I think, personally speaking, Hibs need to, Hibs fans need to realise that we're not as big as what we think we are. And I'm not saying anything towards fans. I'm not saying anything towards the club. I am not saying anything negatively about my comment there. It's the fact that, like, we need to realise that, yes, we are a big name. Okay, we are a big name. But there's other bigger names around us.
Yep.
Right? For example, when I hear Hearts supporters saying, we're the biggest club outside the Old Firm. No, you're not. As far as I'm concerned, and whether it be way back when they done it, Aberdeen, for me, are the biggest team outside the Old Firm because they've got 2 European trophies. They were the last team outside the Old Firm to win the league. Ken what I mean? That to me, doesn't matter how many times they've done it or whatever, they still done it. Right? So when I hear people kind of going on and say, we should be beating Aberdeen, no, I'm sorry. We'll have to fight for that result. Coming up against teams like your St Mirren's, everything like that, we should be beating them because we are a class apart for them. Get what I mean? And as I say, that my thing is, if you want a successful season for me is you're pushing up towards top 4, top 3. That is your successful season. If you can get a cup into the mix, brilliant. If you can, like, for example, we all thought this season we could push Celtic for second, and we done that. And the first season back in the top flight as well, we looked like we were still in the hunt for second as well.
Yep.
I mean, that's good. That's amazing. But it's happening. It doesn't happen as often as what it should.
Yeah.
Now you look at the likes of Aberdeen, right? Aberdeen have had, I want to say, 4 or 5 times that they finished runners up to Celtic. Constantly ruined the top half of the league. Before McInnes took over, I'm sure they finished 8th or 10th. McInnes came in, took them rocketing back up again. Now, fair enough, the football he played wasn't always nice.
No.
They got results. And unfortunately, we're in a results business. I personally, listen, if I'm at Tynecastle or Ibrox or Hampden in a cup final, it's what no gone into the last 2 minutes and we score. Do I really care about the performance? No, I care about the result.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? So
100%.
I mean, listen, I say that because I think sometimes I said that in that video that I feel that we should. There is times when I feel Hibs should just reel it in a wee bit. Not to say we're not a big team. We're a big team, but we're not as big as what we think we are. But that now is done to that's done now to Ron Gordon to say, well, we're not as big as what we think we are.
Yep.
Let's change that.
I agree.
I agree as well. I just wonder. Do you know, it's a tough pill to swallow as well. It's tough to actually stand back and try and analyze it and realize, Ken, we're not as big as we think we are. I mean, and it sounds silly, but because we are a big club, but is it because we're from the capital?
I think there's an expectation there that because we're for the capital, we need to be this big team. But I think we're not as big as we think we are, and I think a lot of Hibs fans have some false expectations of their club. Like I've seen a lot of boys on Twitter saying that we should have won, we should be finishing second this year. And when we went on that run, I was like, we can finish second, but we're not going to compete with Celtic, are we? Like, this has been their worst season in 10 seasons, and we still can't. And it's been our best season in 16, and we still can't push them. I think a realisation that if we get third, it's a brilliant season, but it's not going to happen that often.
I will say, I mean, I've been taking an awfully negative view of Jack Ross, but I am going to stand up for him in a sense. Now, the reason in terms of standing up for him is people are crying out for change, and we're crying out for why is Dodge playing? He's not scoring 13 goals. Let's try and get Kevin Nisbet on. So he's trying to change it. Yeah. And he's brought Gogic in instead of Murphy and things like that. I do think a bit of the blame has to go with the players as well. And I think, as we've said, we've already touched on it. I think it's, you know, they have to step up in terms of what they realise is on the plate, because if they can get European football, I mean, it's a massive stage to go on and show your craft and show, you know, how good a player you are if you want to progress your career, or maybe even cement your place in an international team, for example, like Deutsch. You know, wasn't too long ago that we were all shouting for Deutsch for Wales. You know, are we good? Do we want that more than him, for example?
Yeah.
Boyle, you know, keep himself in the Australian team and things like that. I know they've probably got a smaller pool to choose from and things like that, but I just feel like the players need to step up and think, Christ, I'm sick of getting beat.
Aye.
Or I want third. I want third. Do you know what I mean? And say,
Yeah.
if someone's not pulling their weight, get on their back. It just comes back to the leadership thing again. I think we've already sort of hit the nail on the head, but I do think the players need to start making a statement. It's not enough to come out and say. I mean, we had that, man. I mean, I had a Twitter spat. I mean, with James McPake one time when they went through their stage of coming out and, oh, sorry, Ken, we've lost the game again today. We'll try and do better. Like, they need to do the talking on the pitch. Someone needs to, in that dressing room, start taking the game by the scruff of the neck and turning draws into wins, and, you know, being able to come back. I mean, that Dundee United one, I listened to that one on the radio when we played them at home, and I couldn't watch it that week, but I could. I mean, I wasn't even watching it with my eyes, but I could see it coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Attack. 1-0 Hibs, 90th minute, 94th minute, bang, 1-1.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, eh?
And that's where I think that's where you're right. The players need to step up now, eh? Like, I don't know how many games are left before the split or whatever, but I'd love to go into the split 7 clear of Aberdeen, but I can't see it, eh? Like,
we could have had third wrapped up in the last couple.
We could have been. We could be going into this weekend almost 10 clear of Aberdeen, and we're now 3 clear of them. You know what I mean? It's just like.
But interesting debates, and, you know, good views for you two as well. Just sort of wrapping up the review of the St Johnstone game there, I think we all sort of feel the same way. And looking ahead to the Ross County, the rescheduled fixture this weekend, County are in 10th place with 29 points. They're just 3 above Hamilton. So there's a potential for them to get into a wee relegation scrap as well. So they're going to come out fighting. Previous meetings, we drew 0-0 with them in October, tail end of last year. And then obviously we dropped points at home to them in December with a 2-0 defeat. What's your predictions for that game? How can you see that game going? Is it going to be a turnaround and, you know, a push post split, or is it going to be similar to what we've seen the last couple of weeks?
It depends on it depends on what Hibs team turn up, unfortunately. And I think if I really sit down and if I really think about it, I can sit there and say I think the game's going to be really tough. There's not going to be a lot of football played. You know, I mean, let's be honest. You know, Big Yogi, he knows the game. Do you know what I mean? And he knows that. Listen, yous are going for European football. I'm trying to keep these boys in the league.
Aye.
These boys are going to give me everything that they've got. If they can do that for me, then I'm going to do everything I can for them. So there will only be a lot of football played. If my head were to overrule my heart, I would say I still fancy Hibs to win it. I would go 1-0. But I mean, I say this to everybody: it doesn't matter if you win 1-0 or 10-0, you still get 3 points at the end of the game. You know.
Yeah.
I do think we're good enough to beat them, but equally they're good enough to beat us as well. So.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Dingwall's a very, very, very tough place to go, and I think it's been a really tricky place for us in recent outings as well. And I do think it's going to be a scrappy game. I think it's going to be very difficult to go over the line. But I mean, I would like to think we've got enough to do it. I think we never seem to really get high scoring matches when we play up there. So I think a 1-0 does sound most realistic. I'd go with 1-0. What about yourself, Charlie?
I'm going 2-0 Ross County, mate. Honestly, I think.
Are you?
I just can't. And I've never. It's the first time.
Oli Shaw double.
Mate, I think that the last 2 times I predicted Hibs to win, and we've got beat, so I'll go with... I just think Ross County are going to have our number, purely on the fact of what Stephen said, that they're going to give Yogi everything, and I don't think these boys are going to give Jack Ross half as much. So I think we'll get beat. And I would love to come on the podcast next week buzzing that I've been proven wrong, but I think we'll get beat.
Unfortunately, I wouldn't be surprised, mate, I must say. Well, we're sorry to talk about it, guys, but who is it? What Hibs players are the ones to watch this week? Who's the difference maker in that team? Who are you expecting to sort of get things going for us in this team this weekend?
Well, I've already touched on it there, that I think Scott Allan could be the difference maker, because again, he just sees things, he sees passes that nobody else can really see. If he can get us a pass in the game there, that's got to get us a goal, then fantastic. I mean, I've said already my gripes with the current team. I agree completely. The likes of your Melko, I can't say his bloody name, Melko. You can, I mean, I didn't see him as a regular player. He's a player that I would, to be quite honest, I'd get rid of. Just, I mean, as I say, I've already said that I think Scott Allan's going to be the difference maker. We've got to start them on Saturday. Give him an hour, give him 70 minutes, if that's all he can handle. And then hopefully by that point the deal's done. Do you know what I mean? And we can take him off, and we can chill and look forward to the next again week. But I don't know.
What's your thoughts, Charlie?
I think if we're going to have any chance of winning, we need to play Scott Allan. But apart from that, mate, I think it's time for Boyle and Murphy to start getting us going down that side, or Cadden, or I think that's where we really missed it on Saturday. I think we had no pace in the wings because we were playing that long ball. So I think, and let's be honest, Ross County, I say it every week, Ross County and whoever we're playing are rubbish now. Like the past 3 games, they're all rubbish. We should be hammering them. But I think if we're to win, I think Cadden and Murphy and that have to kick on and win the midfield battle, like I said last week, but we never won that. So I feel negative going into this weekend because I can see it coming,
it's hard to pinpoint. I don't want to sound like I'm just jumping on both of your ideas, but I have to agree with you. I mean, Scott Allan, I think he's definitely the key to what we're missing. I think he's the best player we've got. I think he's better than Newell in the middle of the field. I think he's more creative. I think he gets it. I would love to see him, linking up with Nisbet. They passes, unlocking the defences, things like that. I think that would just be, could be a really great pairing that we've perhaps never really got to see, never really got to go on at Easter Road. With the through balls and stuff that he's capable of, and Nisbet's finishing. Hopefully Nisbet gets his steps up this weekend as well. If he starts, obviously, and just we've talked about him most likely missing out on the Scotland team and things like that. But I'd go for they two, thinking that we need a big performance, especially we need a finisher, we need goals, and Nisbet, you've got to look at them and think that's where they're coming from. So, in terms of Ross County players, is there anyone that sort of you see in their team that you think could cause us problems?
Calvin, didn't make any jokes here, mate. What happened last week?
No, I'm not going.
I think their big threats are like Yakovite and Shaw, and that's the only really 2 attacking players I know of theirs. So I think if they two seem to be scoring for them. But apart from that, mate, like I think we should bully them on the park. Like we're more physical, more quick, more agile than they are. So I think if we keep them quiet, we should hopefully score. But no idea.
I'd agree with you there as well. You have any thoughts on that, Stephen?
No, I'd go with that. I think Oli Shaw is probably he's a player that's got a lot to prove. You know what I mean? I think he's got a lot to prove in the sense that he was shown the door again by. I mean, granted, I know he wanted to go, but he was shown the door by Hibs, and I think quite unfairly, to be honest, because he's a player that, even I'm being honest, I would love to have him back at Easter Road now. I think he gave us a lot of the only thing I would say with Oli Shaw when he was at his time at Hibs is he was a bit too lightweight. He seems to have fixed that problem. And to be honest, as I say, I'd have him back at Easter Road. But I mean, again, Ross County are all this kind of team that, you know, they didn't need to have a quality player. They just need to have a player on any one day that's having a good game.
Aye.
And we talk about it all the time. You know, you talk about having sort of targets on your back as well in terms of, you know, your bigger teams coming to your stadium. Like, for example, if the likes of Rangers and Celtic come to Easter Road, you know, we want to beat them because they've got the big target on their back. It's the same for us. If we go to Dingwall, Livingston, all these kind of places, you know, they want to beat us because we're a bigger club than them.
Aye.
So, I mean, that's what I mean. I mean, especially now, you know, you've got guys that are probably in the team that could sit there and go, I'm going to beat this Hibs team. I'm going to try and obviously get myself a move. I'm going to try and do this. I'm going, you know, and that's probably going to be the way on Saturday as well. But no, I would say the danger man is Oli Shaw.
Aye.
Yeah. I think so.
It's a shame because, you know, he's one of those names that was coming up through the youth ranks at Hibs, and, you know, the amount of goals he was scoring was ridiculous as well. And I mean, there's players that have came and gone, like Cummins, that have bypassed him on his way to sort of the top in terms of, you know, being the main man at Hibs. And it's a shame, I think, how his career turned out. And I would, I don't know if I'd have him back. I don't think he's any worse than what we've got. But I do wish. My frustration with Oli Shaw was, I mean, my dream ever since I was young, I wanted to be the striker for Hibs. That's all I wanted to be. I wanted to be the Hibs main striker. And seeing him in that position, I just thought I'd have gave anything. Ken, I'd have been knocking on the manager's door saying, well, why am I not playing this weekend? Or Kenny, when he was a bit lightweight, I'd be in the gym. I'd be doing those road runs and things like that and putting in the extra work because it means so much to me. Do you know what I mean? And I just felt like, you know, he was a local boy. I kind of felt like just never seen that passion from him.
Yeah.
And he's got that point to prove. And I wish him well. And no this weekend, like, but going forward, of course, you know, I think he's a decent bloke, and I think there's a good player in there, and I think he deserves his chance, you know, to show it.
Yeah.
I think so too.
So it'll definitely be a scrappy game, and I think we've all been fans long enough to realise what's probably, you know, going to be another tough watch. But we'll persevere anyway, as the club say. But just moving on to the last segment here, the last segment of the podcast. It's been good so far, boys. I've enjoyed the conversation. This is a question from me. This is one I wanted to ask both of you, and it says, do Hibs hit bad form when it's most important not to? So the Ross County Cup final in 2016, for example, the Hearts semi-final, this current run of form we're on just now, why is it when it seems to really matter, do we just miss the plate? Why is it we just dip in form, and then it seems after a big event like this, you know, like after the Ross County game, you lose a wee bit of interest and then they pick up again. I don't get the highs and lows. It's never sort of consistent. It's always either amazing or it's really, really crap.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's been it as a lot of time I've followed Hibs. What's the expression my old man used to come out, the build you up to knock you down. That's definitely an expression that I think you know, I'm still getting my head wrapped in, because it's the hope that kills you. You know, it's the hope that kills 100%. It's the hope that kills you with Hibs. And I agree totally. You know, when it comes down to it, you can go and you can play all these sort of the weird games, and then it comes up to a right big one, and you think, right, we've played however well in this game, let's see how it goes, and then we just crumble. And again, I go back to it's mentality. It's mentality of the club. It's mentality for upstairs to down. Do you know what I mean? I mean, one of the I'll tell you, one of my mates, his laddie, he's actually in the Hibs youth setup just now, but before he went to Hibs, he went across the road. He went to Hearts, And apparently the first thing he got told when he walked through the door is, "Hello, such and such. Welcome to Hearts. We don't get beat. We don't lose to Hibs." And I mean, that to me, if that's your mentality that you're building for a really young age, that you've set up all the way to the first team, and I mean, I didn't like saying it, I didn't like admitting it either, but you look at a derby, Hearts are always up for it. They're
100%.
always up for the fight. They're always up for the scrap. If we can, there's times where we'll play the scrappy game and we'll not get the result. We'll play them at Easter Road. We'll play all the great football in the world. We'll no score, and then they'll score one that's flipped off somebody's arse into the top bin. Again, what I mean? It's always the way of it. And I think, as I say, that mentality, Neil Lennon spoke about it when he took over, when he said Hibs are a wee bit of a boy band. I completely agree with that. And the thing, I mean, you look at the group of players we had coming through the golden generation, as they were known. All these lads that came through, they were all Hibs supporters for round about. And they were all really, really good football players, all coming through all at the once. And they were all flair players, but none of them there were I'm not here to play. I'm not here to play football. I'm here to tackle somebody. I'm here to put studs to the back of his leg. If he can think he can nutmeg me, I'm going to try and break his ankle. Nothing like that. Do you know what I mean? We didn't have that.
No.
We didn't have that mentality whereby we have to win.
Yep.
We've never had that mentality, and I don't know why. I have, honestly, because like my old man used to say this all the time when he would say he's seen the best of the best Hibs teams. He's seen the likes of your Turnbull Tornadoes, everything like that. He said, I've seen the best, I've seen the worst. Nothing ever changes. I mean, if you can say that about a team like, for example, that Turnbull Tornadoes team, let's be honest, if you're a Hibs supporter, if your dad's seen them, if your granddad's seen them, anybody will talk about them, and you sit there and you go, God, I wonder how good they really were. And I'll never know, because I've seen this team, I've seen that team. And do you know what I mean? So, I mean, it's mentality for the boardroom to the dugout.
Yeah.
And we never seem to get that formula right. Again, is that going to change in the future? We'll have to wait and see. I hope it does, because I mean, I'm the same as you guys. How many times have you walked away from Easter Road and you come away and you go, how the fuck did we lose that? How did we lose that? You come home. I don't care if you guys are like me. If there's a game on the telly, say it's Hearts or Rangers, Celtic, whoever, I always record that. I go to the game, I come back and I watch it again. And then I watch the highlights later on at night to go, what have I seen? What did I see there? What have I seen now that I didn't see at the time?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's sometimes, especially if you're playing shite, you think, why am I doing this to myself? But it's because you want to try and understand.
It's the hope, like you said earlier, it's the hope you can, the expectation, and it is brutal, man. It is brutal. But when it's good, it's good. Do you know what I mean? When it's good, it's good, it's good. Really good.
Completely agree.
Are you got any other thoughts on that one, Charlie?
I just think I agree with everything Stephen said. I just don't think we've got that winning mentality when it matters most. And I think that's I think that's really it. Like,
I think it's just following on from what you said there, Stephen. It's almost a club identity, because I was listening to an interview on I don't know if any of you boys watch Open Goal with Cy Ferry.
Aye.
I was listening to an interview with those boys, and they were saying one of the things about, Barry Ferguson was on it, and he was saying, if Rangers lost a match, I mean, they were expected to win every match. And when he went, a draw wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
A draw against Hibs wasn't good enough. They came away and they were disappointed by that, for top to bottom. Same with Celtics, but Ferguson was saying what was really different about when he went down to Blackpool, went down to England. If they drew a game, that was a good result, eh? Glad we got a good result there. He wasn't used to that, eh? He couldn't understand that, and he was thinking, Christ, no, we should have won that.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of identity that clubs like Rangers have, for example. Celtic are the exact same, you know. And it's interesting what you were saying there about your friend's laddie, because my cousin used to play for Hearts, and he was the exact same.
Aye.
We don't lose to Hibs. You could lose to anybody. You could get relegated. Don't lose to Hibs. That's their, you know, that's sort of their you know, their mentality and their sort of can't mind the word I used there earlier, but their sort of the whole persona. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you know, their identity, and you come to us, and it's like,
Aye.
See,
what is it?
How many times, right? How many times have you sat there? Again, I didn't get. Like, I've got a few mates who are Hearts supporters, and I have brilliant banter with them. Honestly, I have brilliant banter with them. But the amount of times, like, we'll go to a derby, and it's, if Hearts beat Hibs, it's, well, that's it. That's the season made. That's the season made. We beat Hibs. Whereas if that's the flip side of the coin, you sit there and go, well, no, that's my weekend.
Aye.
That's my weekend. That's my week going into work. I can stick it to the people who I work with in my work who are Hearts supporters. But after that, it's gone, it's over. Whereas, like, honestly, that season, I mean, don't get me wrong. When I sit there and think about this, it makes my skin crawl, because I'm actually embarrassed at this. The season that they got relegated, right, where they were minus 15, right? Obviously, we got relegated as well. Right? And, you know, you sit there and you think, how can you, like, you've been relegated, but you're happy in a way because you beat us?
Aye.
I can't, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, we left ourselves so open to just complete, absolute fucking shithousery for them, because if you think, do you mind the last derby at Tynecastle where we could have relegated them?
I was there.
We could have relegated them, and all the Hibs supporters before the game are going about with these fucking pamphlets. We're invited to the Hearts relegation party and everything like that.
Stupid,
and then we get fucking relegated ourselves. Honestly, that's the kind of shit that I just can't cope with. You know what I mean? Some of that happens, and I go, really? Like,
you need to laugh the way, if no, you'll greet, man. You need to laugh. You need to laugh.
That's just it completely. I mean, you follow a team like Hibs, you've got to learn to laugh. You've got to learn, because you do sit there, right? For example, like, I mean, it was always the case, right? Like, I didn't mean to keep bringing it back to Hearts, but there's so many examples that I've just, you know, even like after that cup final again, and, you know, be honest, guys, be honest with my lads, right? Yous were the same as me. As soon as anybody found out you were a Hibee after that cup final, they slaughtered you. Absolutely 110%, they slaughtered you. And it was a case of, I'll give you, for example, there's a guy I used to play football with in my old football team. Great guy, really, really lovely guy. He was a Jambo, and I always remember he said this to me after that final, because we'd all made it, you know, a wee arrangement, you know, no matter who won, we'd all go out together, we'd have a couple of beers, congratulate the other, and then that would be that. That was the arrangement that we all had. And I mind he took me to one side and he just said, listen, you need to realise Hibs will never win that cup. You need to realise that. You need to realise that, right? Honestly, I took that on board, and it was in my head for the next 4 years, the same as it had been all before. Fuck, we'll never win that cup.
Aye.
And yet, when we did, wait till I tell you this is fucking brilliant. When we did win the cup, he was the first person that I was on the phone to, and his first response is, aye, but Rudy's got 2. I'm like sitting there going, you're fucking joking. You told me you would not win the cup. You fucking have, and you say me, but doesn't matter because Rudy's got 2.
Aye, but Stevenson's won both the cups, so.
Exactly, mate. Again, I say that to him, and he just, it's no in there. Do you know what I mean?
A lot of my Jambo mates, one of my best mates, his dad's a Jambo, and they're both Jambos obviously, and he was saying it felt like a death in the family when we won that cup. He was absolutely devastated, man.
Aye.
But did you have the last listener question there, Charlie?
Aye, I can ask it.
You got one in late.
Aye, the question from my mate Andy Rogers, who runs another football podcast, is if Jack Ross is to go, would you replace him with Derek McInnes?
No.
No, I wouldn't either.
I'd go yes.
No danger. No danger.
I'd go yes. I just think that level of consistency, Ken. I think managers need time, and there must be something that McInnes has got, because he signed 2 players we tried to.
Aye.
You know what I mean? He brought 2 players to the clubs that we couldn't. It was at Ojo and McCrory. Was it McCrory?
Aye, got McGeoch too, but
in that sense, where he's signed the players that we wanted, ask yourself, who had the last laugh?
We'll see at the end of the season.
I mean, no. I didn't mean in terms of league positions, right? I'm talking like that Ojo, who we wanted.
Oh, Ojo's humpty. He's rubbish.
And he's doing it Wigan now.
Aye.
They signed McGeoch for us. No disrespect to Allan McGeoch, again, Hibs legend at the end of the day, but his knees are made of Weetabix.
Aye.
You know what I mean?
I agree, mate.
Consistently injured. That McCrory, he started really well at Rangers, at Aberdeen. He started really well, and then as soon as his form started to kind of dip, he's just never found it again. So, I mean, you could take the 3 players and put them in this current Hibs team, and we'd still have the same discussions.
Aye,
100%. So that's the end of the listener questions there, and just coming to the end of the podcast there. Just once again wanted to say thanks so much to Stephen for coming on. Now, you might be a wee bit confused. I've been calling him Murray at times as well. Just going by his YouTube name. So if you're wondering who Murray is, it's the same guy. But, just to say, mate, thanks very much for coming on. As I said, we're a new Hibs podcast, and the reason we do this, it's not to get hundreds of listeners in like that. It's to for our own mental health as well, chatting about Hibs, getting a talk in the current circumstances of the pandemic and things like that, and being able to talk about what we love. So I appreciate you taking time out your day, mate, to come on, and be great to have you on again at some point if you'd be up for it, mate.
Definitely, man. Definitely, lads. I've really enjoyed it. Honestly, it's been a good laugh. Been a really good laugh, especially talking about obviously the current Hibs team and that, but just going back to the quick fire round and that. Ken, I really enjoyed that, Ken, because it really did actually. I had to think really quite quickly. So no, it's been a good laugh. Thank you very much for having me on.
No problem.
Perfect, mate. Stay in touch, and it's great to hear from you, mate. All right.
No worries, man. Cheers. Thanks very much.
Cheers, mate. We'll catch up with the listeners next week when we come back to review the Ross County game, and then we'll look towards the split at the end of the season.
Brilliant.
Right.